So Doctor Who Season 1 is finally upon us, and I'm here in Bondi Beach to tell you all about it. This is the big one, guys. You know, this is the return of Doctor Who as a show. We've had 7 specials in a row. The last normal episode was in 2021, and even then, calling Flux normal, that feels very generous. So here we are, the relaunch. I think globally this is the start of the big Disney Plus push of Doctor Who as its own original series. And I don't know if they're directing people to the Christmas special first, or if they're kind of going, you can start with Space Babies. I think some people will see the Season 1, Episode 1 title and think Space Babies is the place to start, and I think you can do that. I think the opening moments of Space Babies are kind of a recap of the final moments of The Church on Ruby Road, but I think if you haven't seen that, it's kind of like, yeah, you see what you need to see. She enters the TARDIS, and I think... So it's good, you know, if you need a reminder, there it is. If you need an introduction, there it is. It's probably worth watching The Church on Ruby Road, but yeah. And then the episode itself, Space Babies, it's a kind of, you know, it's a Smith and Jones, it's an End of the World, it's a Rings of Akaten, it's a kind of... The episode, the plot is kind of secondary importance to just the establishing of Doctor Who as a format and, I suppose, the new Doctor companion relationship. And Space Babies establishes those things perfectly. I mean, there's a line in there from the Doctor about why he brings a companion with him, and he likes the universe looks better through her eyes, you know. And I think that is just such a succinct, such an effective way of kind of just summarising the point of this whole thing. And I don't think it's ever been put so well before. I mean, I think. There's a short, a kind of extra bit of Series 5 where Matt Smith kind of says that, yeah, he's lost the ability to see everything because he's seen so much. He needs a fresh pair of eyes. But I think this is all that works about that, but in such a brief way. And I mean, Ncuti and Millie, they play their dynamics so perfectly, and you get such an immediate sense of that early on. I think Ncuti especially, he's able to be kind of simultaneously her equal, her peer, you know, they're besties, they're having a laugh together, they're just mates having fun and travelling together. But then he can kind of switch up and become the authority. He's the older character, he's the more knowledgeable character about this world, and the fact that they can kind of be both at once, and there is that, you know, it's not a flat hierarchy there is that kind of, he's the senior, but for most of it, that doesn't matter, and that he's able to, I guess, experience that kind of unburdened youthfulness through his relationship with Ruby. I was struck by how physically affectionate he was with her, so there's constant kind of just hand on arm kind of cuddling her, just kind of, there's such a kind of, I don't know, that's not something that I feel we've seen a lot of before, is that kind of physical affection between characters, because so many characters have had such a strong... I guess, you know, Clara was always pushing for the hug and the Doctor was accepting of it eventually, but not in the sense that the Doctor was just kind of grabbing her and going, oh, there you are, Clara, that kind of thing. The Doctor, he's just fantastic. This Doctor, I don't know, man, it feels like we're witnessing history in the making with 15. It feels like... Man, I don't know. There's just so many interesting choices. He's like electric on screen. I've said that before. I probably said it in The Giggle and in The Church on Ruby Road, and I'm saying it here. He brings this energy to the screen, this kind of, I don't know, he's just a force to be reckoned with. And as far as the writing of his Doctor go and his own characterization to that, I'm so glad it's interesting. I don't know. It's so like, I don't know, he's so warm with the babies, you know, he's so kind and caring with Ruby and that, but then he's also not cruel, but, I don't know, cheeky and fun and playful, like, you know, the way he revels in kind of some of Ruby's more light-hearted suffering, or he just enjoys, you know, making the babies cry by going, rah, bogeyman. I think that's a really interesting thing, because it's not the obvious like characterization. The obvious characterization is the Doctor is nice to babies, but this is kind of, he is nice to babies and he cares about the babies, space babies, and he will look after them as much as he can. But then on the other side of that, there is just this almost unprecedented playfulness that I really do appreciate from 15. But then that can switch up as well just so quickly, and you can suddenly see the depth behind him and the kind of the struggle, and I guess the fact that he's thousands of years old and that he's experienced so much. I think that so far the balance between that has been found so well, I think. I guess like there's the kind of focus a little bit more than I was expecting on the loss of Gallifrey and the kind of Gallifreyan genocide. And I think that's interesting. At the start, I was like, oh God, I can't believe Chibnall blew up Gallifrey to start with. That was stupid. But also to return and then give the show to RTD and have Russell return to Last of the Time Lords as his status quo. It's just like, oh no, we're just kind of straight back to 2005. But it's either in the way it's written or the way it's performed by Ncuti. It's so different to the kind of moping that we experienced from the 9th and 10th Doctor. It's so liberated, I suppose. I mean, he's not excited that his people are gone and that he's all on his own, but he doesn't feel particularly burdened by it. He feels like a free spirit who is truly free, and he kind of accepts this darkness in his past and this loss that he's experienced, but he's found peace with it, and he's found a kind of purpose in life to just go out and, I suppose, enjoy himself. He says a lot about that's kind of what his thing is. He doesn't have a purpose. He's just going out. I think it's very clear from how much he does step in and help that is his purpose. But I think, yeah, I suppose I maybe would have liked to hear a little bit of like, well, you know, I don't have to do anything, but this is what I do. But I guess we see that instead, you know. I appreciate that the kind of focus on it being a genocide that he survived, that kind of draws directly into Ncuti Gatwa's kind of own personal history, and I think that parallel and that kind of connection he's been able to find with the character is really powerful. So in that sense, I can appreciate what they're doing, and I'm really glad so far with how they've played all that, because again, that's something that could have felt annoying and very much something we've seen before, whereas it now just feels like, you know, he's having fun, and I think that's great. And it's almost like heartwarming to see this character that has been kind of miserable for the last few years, not just in the Chibnall era, but just he's suffered a lot, kind of step out into the world, into the universe, ready to explore with this sense of adventure and excitement. And oh man, I mean, Ncuti Gatwa, he's got this physicality to him. He's running about the place, jumping around. He's so physically fit. That's probably it. That he's just, I don't know, you pair that with the new kind of instantly iconic Murray Gold 15th Doctor theme, and you just, again, as I said, it's you get the sense you're watching a kind of all-timer Doctor Who just it appear in front of you, and like you're, as I said, history in the making. You're just seeing it unfold, and you're like, oh my god, this is going to be a theme that we remember forever. This is going to be a character that is among the top 3, the top 5, the top 1 of the incarnations for years to come. As for Ruby, she is just wonderful. You are so bought into her, and you kind of, I don't know if anyone else got this sense, but you just care for her, and you want, you know, it's great when she's happy, and it's so fun, and you enjoy, you get that kind of contagious enjoyment of what's going on from her and from the Doctor, but then you see her upset, and you see that, and it's sad, and you're like, oh no, hang on, that's Ruby there. Don't make her sad. I don't know. She is so smart. She's so brave. What Russell does so well with his companions is that he has them ask all the right questions that they need to ask. They're not just super geniuses that understand everything, but at the same time, they have this ability to take things in their stride, and they're not just kind of 3 adventures in going, what? Hang on, what about this? They are adapting quickly to the situations, and I think, obviously, not every RTD human character fits that description, but it's almost like the people that the Doctor gravitates towards are the kind of people that they can accept this kind of thing, and Ruby's very good at going. She did a lot of those great moments of like, we'll park that for now. That's something we need to come around and talk about in a second. But right now, there's more stuff to deal with, and I think that's such a human kind of element there that, like, all right, I know that should be like the most important thing on my radar, but there's a specific here that I'm at in Church on Ruby Road. There's a bit where she gets hissed at by goblins, and she kind of goes, "Did she just hiss at me?" And she's kind of indignant at the kind of the disrespect that she's got and how rude that is, and then she registers that she's on the roof and that they're goblins and that they've stolen the baby, and it's kind of the human response first of, oh, hang on a sec. And same with the Star Beast, actually, like Donna getting her memories back, and the first thing she says is you made me give away all my money, you made me give away all those millions, Doctor, because I wanted to be like you. And it's, you know, such a high stakes situation, but her first thought is something so relatably human. And yeah, so Ruby, she's she's just this kind of beacon of warmth and joy, and she's not like Martha again. She's not Rose again. I think if you were going to draw a comparison, I was going to say a companionness, and it would be Clara, but not to the point where you see her and you go, this is just Clara again. At least not yet. I think so far I think maybe because the Doctor is so different, the relationship is so different, it paints the character as so different. But yeah, Ruby, big fan. And in great contrast to what we had with the fam and in all the companions in the Chibnall years, there is this sense of wonder, this sense of awe with what she's experiencing. Like at the same, she's taking things in her stride, but she's not just like, oh yeah, okay, planet. It's like, Ryan Sinclair never felt blown away by what he saw. Yaz, for the most part, from what I can recall, take it or leave it. Graham may be kind of oh, blimey. But Dan, yeah. But I think to really get that palpable sense of, oh my God, what I'm seeing, the companion, what I'm seeing is incredible, and I'm experiencing something that no one else can experience. Seeing a character feel those things, you kind of get that as a viewer. You feel that too. You're like, wow, I'm on this adventure with them. If they don't seem too fussed about the adventure, then why should I be as an audience member? As for the plot, as I said, it doesn't matter. It's not what the episode is about. It's just kind of something that has to happen for the characters to be doing a thing. God, that is just a soundbite right there. Really insightful bit of criticism there from me. But despite that, there is stuff going on here that I was interested in and that I enjoyed. There's a political angle. There's the babies that are kind of, they're forced to be born and forced to exist, but the planet has no interest in taking care of them once they are out in the world, which is, Ruby herself draws that comparison. And that's not something that I'd say is running through the whole episode as, RTD's angrily going, this is the pro-choice episode, and we're going to really be mean about the pro-lifers. But at the same time, it's there, and it's nice that it's there. You can kind of see that and go, that's fun. That's kind of, I don't know, the politics of Doctor Who that I enjoy being part of it. It's just something that you're like, I get it. I get it. You're right. But I guess let's talk about the babies, the space babies. They are they're ridiculous. And I know a lot of people were not happy with that. They just can't get behind those scenes and the concept, and its uncanny valley CG on those baby faces. That being said, as much as at first I was like, oh, this is weird, the scenes, especially with like Captain Poppy, I was like, this is fun, this is funny, I like these characters. I don't know, I think Ncuti and Millie play it really well as well, to the point where you're like, yeah, I'm bought into this. This is, I don't know, it's not, sometimes people will throw up like, oh, it's silly, and then someone will go, oh, you don't like when Doctor Who's silly? And I think sometimes the idea of, oh, it's meant to be silly, that can be used to kind of deflect pretty legitimate criticism. That being said, I think this is silly and good. I'm not saying if you think it's too silly for you that you're wrong, but I'm certainly someone who enjoyed what I was seeing there. And I think, like the visual of like Eric in the pram going over with a little wooden sword to fight the bogeyman, that was a funny visual, that's just, I don't know, it's funny to see babies doing adult things. That is something that comedy has understood forever. That's just, that's how it works. They're too small to be doing those things, so seeing them do it, that's funny, that's not normal, that good. God, I'm recording this at 25 to 2 in the morning. I've just been working until midnight. What am I saying? The bogeyman, really cool design, really like scary, and I think like, you write this episode differently and use that exact same design and it's like, oh, fucking hell, that's a classic Doctor Who scary monster there. But they're not interested in that because that's not what this is, and that's absolutely fine. I guess like the plot, the payoff, we find out the bogeyman's origin, of the kind of the story created by the computer, I suppose. What I would say is that like it felt like they arrived at the conclusion, were like, yeah, that's the conclusion, and then like 15 minutes later we're like, oh, we were right about our conclusion, we knew we had it but we didn't know, and I was like, oh, I thought we did know, okay, that's fine. But then beyond that, we had a little moment of specifically what the bogeyman was made out of, and that to me justified the whole thing. And yeah, I was like, oh, this is a bit naff, this is just, crap explanation of the evil monster. But the fact it was made of bogies, and I mean, that's not genius, that's not brilliant writing. I wasn't going, oh, Russell, I was going, I'm having so much fun with this because the Doctor is having so much fun with this, and Ruby is playing it so kind of, oh, and I don't know. I think that's a moment that's fully sold by the two leads. I think Ncuti just absolutely cackling at the fact that the bogey monster that had covered Ruby in goo, it was snot and bogies that she was dealing with there. And I think, yeah, that made it work for me. They made the whole episode work for me. There's just a spark of life behind all of this. I think it feels, I don't know, the gags, they're not all mind-blowing, but the fact, I don't know, just things like, I don't know, the nanny filtering out the swear words. Not like, oh my god, best joke of all time in Doctor Who, but just little moments that make you go, ha, ha, I know what swear that means. Things like, I don't know, Ncuti correcting himself all episode, like, babies, space babies, and like, I almost felt he did that one too many times, but then he said to someone, babes, and then corrected himself, space babes. Fantastic. That just, I don't know, I've not seen anyone else mention this. I don't know why it tickled me so much, but babes, space babes, as a payoff to all that, brilliant, fantastic, really good stuff. And then it's not just in the gags, it's in the little human moments. Like, I don't know, once Ruby has a TARDIS key, she says like, oh, follow me, then I'll let you in. And she wants to use her key, and it's almost like she's just kind of, yeah, she's excited to open the door. And that's something that I think you wouldn't necessarily think about doing, but that a human would absolutely do in that situation. And it's cute, and it's, I don't know, I guess, yeah, thinking about gags and things, the ship farts itself across the stars. That's something where you can imagine Russell kind of, the glee is shining through that. I wasn't thrilled by it. I wasn't disappointed by it. I was just like, yeah, all right. But I don't know, there's just a kind of a spark of humanity in this, and kind of shining through every element that, and I know people are sick of hearing negativity about the Chibnall era, and it's like, we're in the next phase, we don't have to talk about it, but it's a spark of humanity and of life that hasn't been in the show in those years. It wasn't there, and it's back, and the magic of the show is back with it. And Space Babies is not a 10 out of 10 all-timer story, but it's kind of solidifying the idea that the show is good again. And as much as I know some people like the Chibnall era, and they can't get behind my feelings about it, but to me, someone who stuck through it and tried to find the good in everything, it's good that I don't have to try too hard anymore. I think Space Babies was just a good, simple story that this kind of episode really needs. And I think you stack it up against other episode 2s, and it's kind of on par with a lot of them, I'd say. I don't know if that's a hot take, but I think obviously it does a lot of the things that we've seen done before in episodes at this stage in the series. But I don't think that is... I don't think that makes you feel like, oh, it's all been done. To me, at least, it just feels like these are the things that need to happen. And the show is doing them. It's ticking them all off in a way that is also really fun and exciting. And yeah, I don't know. We also get, I guess, a little tease of the season-wide story stuff, more stuff about Ruby, the snow coming in with the memory there. Such an interesting visual, such a unique thing. And it's a tease for an overarching story that... isn't just a word being said every episode. It's something beyond that. It's something newer than that, fresher than that, and I'm excited to see where that goes. But yeah, that's Space Babies. I think it's time to talk about the Devil's Chord. This is one where the story of the episode actually is the star, it's not just a vessel for us to enjoy moments with the Doctor and Ruby. Not that we don't enjoy moments with the Doctor and Ruby. I mean, it starts off very much carrying on the energy from Space Babies. We have them excitedly getting dressed in the TARDIS and putting on exciting new outfits. That's so much fun. But for the rest of it, it's about what it's about. It really is kind of about the plot that is going on, and focused on that, and I guess focused on Maestro. Now, Maestro, gets a fantastic introduction. I think that scene of the visual of someone climbing out of a piano is a great one. It's funny. I mean, Henry Arbinger is just so stupid and hilarious. That almost feels Moffat. So I really enjoyed that. I think, yeah, great introduction there. The visual of, I mean, so the maestro is kind of stealing music. That's the plot there. They kind of want control over all music, and so stealing the music from inside someone, you kind of see the notes force themselves out of a person, and I think that's a really cool idea. I'd say in that first scene, and when we do see the notes, I almost wish the visual of that, the music forcing its way out of someone's chest, I almost wish it was more violent. And I don't mean gory, I don't mean kind of just blood splatter, kind of John Hurt alien kind of thing. I mean, I don't know, think of like, you know, the Ood transformation in Series 4 and the gas mask transformation in Series 1, like something that's kind of, it's not gory, it's not bloody, but it's visceral and unsettling, and I think it could have done with being that. I don't know how you do that, but it's almost like it's on the verge of being, oh, holy shit, you know, the music is forcing its way out, and instead it's just like, oh yeah, there's musical notes, fun to see those in real life. I think the overall plot of music being stolen is an interesting idea. Having music as the focus is a really interesting one, and it makes for an interesting, unique episode. But I'd say that, like, the way we see that being through, like, having a recording studio full of musicians who are still recording music, that's difficult. And I guess you show a normal place, there's not usually much music in these episodes, so we wouldn't see the difference. But I don't know, the Beatles, and this is going to sound like a diss or a joke, but like their song about the dog, my dog, his name is Fred, it's not that far off the shite that people were releasing in the 60s. It's not like, it doesn't feel completely, obviously creatively it's hollow, but I don't know, it feels muddled to have, on the one hand, the heart of music is being stolen, and on the other, his people still kind of making music. I don't know how you do it. I don't know, but I'm not sure it's like this. There was something to me that just felt like, oh, okay, I guess, yeah, they've stolen music, but we're still seeing music, and yeah, it's like, oh, Ruby, you're the only person who has a song in your heart, and it's like, well, the lyrics were shit, but they were playing the guitar all right, weren't they? Like the Beatles, they still had some songs in them. And yeah, I don't know. That all being said, the maestro as a presence is really exciting and fantastic. And I think Jinx Monsoon is a fantastic get for the show. And it's one of those times where, you know, a celebrity guest star is there, and it's a case of, you're not going, oh, why do they bring this person in just to waste them? It's like, all right, no, this is exactly where Jinx Monsoon needs to be. And it's such a great meeting of a particular talent in a particular episode. As a presence, yeah, fantastic. As a villain, I wonder if the maestro is too Toymaker too soon. You know, I think we had in The Giggle 3 episodes ago, this character that breaks all the rules and that has all this reality bending, you know, impossible to fight. And then to have, you know, just a few episodes later, you know, Ncuti's just got here and he's faced a character like this twice now. I think that's weird, and I think if you really want to feel the power of someone like this, you space it out a bit better than this. I don't know, I've not seen anyone else express this, but I almost felt like, yeah, we've kind of just done this, right? And I think the extent of the maestro's power, it's not really conveyed to me well enough. You know, we see them kill one person, we see them, I suppose, take music away from people, but the way the Doctor just goes, we can't fight this, we can't do this, and that's not really coming from any sort of confrontation with the character. It's just, it's riding on the coattails of the Toymaker. It's based on nothing but that association, just going, oh, well, the Toymaker, that was serious trouble, so this is serious trouble as well. And it's like, no, hang on, I'd quite like if this moment had been earned by the person who is receiving it, right? I think you really have that standoff with Jinx Monsoon, the maestro, and then you have the moment of, shit, we've got to get out of here. And I think it's disappointing for it to kind of, I guess, preempt any real show of power from them. That was just kind of what I thought. It's not that Ncuti didn't sell the moment very well. He was kind of playing the extent of that, oh god, this is beyond me. But I don't know. I think maybe it's because it's an episode 2, 3 of this season, of this era. You know that this isn't a finale level threat. So I guess I didn't quite buy into the gravity or the mavity of the situation. And I think, I don't know, I liked Ncuti taking Ruby back to 2024 to say, look, here's the devastation of this planet if things don't go differently in the 60s. That was unique and new, and you felt the powerful moment there. But that being said, it was quite I guess a generic devastation there for what should be quite a specific villain. Again, that's that music element that I think could have played a bigger part in the Maestro's whole deal, and I think you really want to show a display of the Maestro's power. Music has to be at the heart of that, beyond just making musical notes appear. But I am a sucker for any kind of, parallel reality stuff. I think that's always, it's a time travel show that's very rarely about time travel. It's more about, that's more a way to get from place to place for less time travel focused stories. So anything that does deal in like a change was made at this point and that leads to X. I made a video years and years ago, one of the first on my channel, about the Trickster and how I want the Trickster back. And so that, in a way, there was an element of this plot that scratched that itch for me, as well as a tease of the pantheon of this group of big baddies. And I remember the Trickster was called part of the pantheon of Discord, and I made a Discord mod joke. It was really funny in 2020. So that may be something that we see more of, that a potential tease for the future, more baddies like this specifically. I mean, there's so much teasing in this episode. There's so much, I don't know, we get the lady who's everywhere. That's another thing that's just constantly popping up. We have teases of the oldest one, the one who waits, that potentially now being tied into Ruby's mystery. I think in this episode I felt Ruby's mystery was overplayed. I think that moment where we kind of ground to a halt and went, there's something about her, what's going on there? It's like, well, we know there was something about her, and I think, I don't know, I know that there's fewer episodes to do this kind of overarching story with, but I think, I don't know, when moments like that happen, it's good when they interrupt a sense of normality, and I think what we really needed was to establish what normal was, just have normal standard Ruby time, and then suddenly that starts getting weird, whereas thus far it's all been weird, and that's actually something that extends past the Ruby mystery, I suppose. There's moments of kind of fourth wall breaking, of winking to the camera, and just meta moments as well, meta lines, the timey-wimey, the playing the little few notes of the Doctor's, the main Doctor Who theme while the Doctor's there and the Doctor smiling at that. I don't know, that to me, it feels like, in those moments they felt right, but at the same time, I don't know, I think, how many episodes are we? We're 3 episodes into the new era, and 3 characters at 3 different points have winked at the camera. And I think you need to slow down and stop being weird with that, because at a certain point it stops being a weird thing and it starts just being what the show is. And that's not me saying, oh, you're ruining Doctor Who. It's me going, you lose the power of something so strange and subversive when it stops feeling subversive and just starts feeling like a thing that the show does. And maybe there'll be that's another overarching plot thread that, there's some camera that they're all aware of. I don't know. I'm not sure. It almost feels like, Mrs. Flood winked, the Maestro winked, the Doctor winked. That it's almost like you lose the power of something like that with too much of it. So I would want them to be careful there, and I kind of want us to go back to normal standard Doctor Whoing. Not because I hate when it's weird, but because I love when it's weird, when the weirdness feels weird and doesn't just go, oh yeah, we're doing this again, are we? That's nothing. That's boring. That's dreadful. And then you're kind of sacrificing normal good Doctor Who, and you're getting little in return. I did love the moment of the Doctor saying, I thought the music was non-diegetic. I thought, there's the dramatic music that's underscoring the scene, and we assume that's just Murray Gold, and the Doctor assumes that too. So clearly he's hearing that and tuning it out in his head all the time. But it turns out to be, chasing after Ruby. But yeah, I think you need to. You need to establish the rules before you break them, because otherwise you're not breaking any rules at all. I don't think you do Turn Left or Midnight or Blink or Love and Monsters. I don't think you do that in season 1, episode 2. Russell's playing with the formula here like it's his 5th season, and it is his 5th season, obviously, but it's also his first. And I mean, not only, it's not just you do it a few seasons in. Even if you are going to do it in the first season, you do it a few episodes in. I don't know. And speaking of things happening too early, there's a time jump here. There's a 6-month time jump. Ruby, saying that, from her perspective, it's June back on Earth, and it's like, what the fuck? That, I think, is the most bewildering thing that's happened in the Russell T Davies era, the second Russell T Davies era. That is the single choice that has made me go, I'm sorry, what? Ruby is 1 adventure in with the Doctor, and then, I don't know, we jump ahead, but it doesn't feel like we jump ahead. It feels like early days. She's asking questions about kind of time travel, like, won't we need to change our clothes? Nothing bad can happen now, because I know that the world is fine. She's doing the early questions, and even like the question at the start of like, where do you want to go? That feels like her first trip. It feels like, people usually say the Titanic. It's like he says like, he's kind of treating it like, you're making your first decision here. And you could say, she's been just taken by the Doctor, she's not made her mind up yet. But I don't know, it just, in some ways it feels like we're just carrying over from Space Babies. But there she is saying, it's a bit hard to keep track of life back on Earth, but I think it's probably around June now. It's like, it was Christmas Day 5 minutes ago, all right? And I'm not going to get too hung up on this, because I think in the grand scheme of things it won't matter, but that's so weird. I don't understand that. Is that literally just so it's like summer 2024 in the show, just as it is for us? It's too early for that kind of time jump. There's so much unexplained. I mean, I'm just going to ignore it, okay? I'm just going to ignore it. Nothing to worry about. I'm not wrong, right? That's the weirdest thing this show has ever done. Okay, I've been negative, I've been critical, but I think I'm holding the episode to a high standard because I think it's kind of achieving a high standard, right? It's flirting with greatness, so I think it's worth scrutinizing the ways in which it doesn't quite reach that greatness. I think that's fair enough, because there's so much to like here. There really is. It's bursting with creativity and joy. I mean, my favourite moment, probably this is hyperbole, it's recency bias, but of this recent era, the Doctor looking out and pointing over at Totter's Lane and going, I'm over there at the moment, that's where I live right now. That's so cool. That awareness of the show's history and the time travel. The Doctor crosses over with himself quite often sometimes, and quite often sometimes, but like there have been moments where there have been 2 or 3 Doctors kind of around the same place around the same time, and I think acknowledging that and going, in 1963 I'm over there, and to do that in an episode that, well, I guess it's one of the only times the Doctor's been based in one place for so long, and I think the ability to acknowledge that and go, well, I have a history, and the show has a history, and this is the iconic starting point for the show. It's 1963. It's acknowledging that history so beautifully in a way that doesn't feel like a history lesson. It doesn't feel like they're just going, here's what Doctor Who was doing then. But it's this moment of for Ruby understanding that the Doctor has this past, and obviously hearing about Susan. I don't know. For me, it was just such an exciting new moment of, oh shit, yeah. Of course, the Doctor's over there. It feels like in that moment they could go over there and see the Doctor and Susan. There's nothing stopping them, and I think there's obviously this TV production understanding that there is something stopping them. But when they acknowledge it like that, it feels like it can be done. It connects the show to itself in a way that sometimes it feels disconnected from itself. So that was really great. I guess talking about Susan so explicitly in the show was really lovely, and I think hearing about the granddaughter thing. I mean, there's always the moment where the companion finds out that the Doctor at one point had kids and goes, oh wow, this is crazy. This changes my perception of this lone traveller. And this was that, but it was also the specifics of Susan. And for the first time ever, we've speculated it for years, the Susan return feels realer than ever. I don't know, it's something that like it's always suggested. It's Susan come back, but it's like, what would that mean to most audience members? Nothing. But now it would mean something. I don't know. I don't know if we've passed that point. I don't know what Carole Ann Ford is doing. I don't know if that would even be something Russell T Davies would want to do, but it almost feels more of a possibility now than it has ever felt. So that's interesting. But that, to me, my enjoyment of that moment of discussing Susan does not hinge on whether or not it's set up. It is just a case of that it's something that I enjoy on its own, but it does pave the way for something in the future that could be good, could be bad, is exciting to think about. I really liked the scene of Ruby and the Doctor talking to Lennon and McCartney. I thought that the performances from the actors playing those Beatles was really strong, even if the likenesses weren't. I think there was that element of kind of they've been robbed of something, and I think it's a really cool original idea to think, what would the world be like if the Beatles hadn't written all that music in the 60s? I don't think anyone's thought of that idea before. But no, I do think, like, if this is... I mean, I'm not a Beatles fan who's angry that this wasn't the Beatles episode, but I do think that, like, they are a little absent from the story for them to be so important to the resolution. I think you kind of... For their genius to be so vital, so instrumental to the climax, I don't know, I think you need a little bit more of them as a presence in the narrative. I don't know. That's what I felt, but still a good payoff, and I think so. They finished the chord that banishes the maestro, and the Doctor using his pain and loss and life experience to fuel finding most of that chord and figuring that out for himself, and tying music into experience, and music is emotion, and the Doctor has experienced everything. I liked that. I could have done with more from it. I don't know what's lacking. I don't know if music in general is just lacking from this episode in a way that feels odd. I don't know. I don't know. Like the final musical dance singing sequence was really fun and impressive, and like I really enjoyed it and was having a good time and all that. But I just wish like Russell would commit to doing a full musical, because it almost feels like he's ticked it off now. He's like, musical episode done, I can sit back. But this wasn't a musical episode, and you look at the pieces that are in play here, and it's like, oh, this could have been a musical episode, right? That's almost what you need, I guess. Like he keeps flirting with the idea of a musical episode. He's got the singing in the Church on Ruby Road. He's got the dancing in The Giggle with Neil Patrick Harris. And this is the music episode, but it's about there being no music. And you just maybe wish, okay, what if it was about too much music? You do the Buffy thing. You have Jinx Monsoon is kind of... I guess you fully rip off Buffy and have the music force its way out of everyone, and it's what they mean, but it's put out on display so vividly that it's dangerous, etc. You find a way to make it not quite Buffy, but I think too much music is a more musical way of doing the music episode than not enough music, if that makes sense. I'm thinking about it now. Yeah, that would solve a lot of my issues here, a lot of how muddled it feels, and a lot of how maybe generic some of the maestro's powers can feel in the absence of there being kind of an excess of music. I think, you get little things like the Abbey Road zebra crossing as a keyboard, fun, good, but not enough. And I think... Yeah, I think you have to do that. You do like toy maker stuff, but with music, there's too much music. I think, yeah, all right, that's the episode. That's what I think. I think if you do an episode about music starring the maestro, you don't take away the music, you add it, right? I guess that is the potential next story for the maestro. Well, I've tried. I've tried taking it away. Now I'll give it. You can have that for free, Russell. I won't sue. I really won't. You gave Tharies the Tharies ramp in the TARDIS. I'll have that one, right? You can say, Joe episode, just say that behind the scenes, whisper it to me at the screening, like, oh, by the way, Joe, you invented this one, but I don't need any credit beyond that. Maybe some residuals here and there. No credit beyond that. So yeah, I liked the episode. There was a lot to like about it, but I think in kind of every individual component, there was something there that was holding it back from being as spectacular as it could have been. And I think if each of those was, lived up to its spectacular potential, it would be an all-timer episode. I'm already seeing people speaking about this episode as an all-timer and saying, oh, they've really done something special here. And That's not something I feel. I think this is a pretty good episode. I seem to be in the minority of preferring the Space Babies. I don't know, I think that does what it's doing better than this does what it's doing. And maybe that's not fair because this is doing more and it's doing more complicated and challenging. But I don't know, I guess I'm left feeling more frustrated by something that's nearly amazing than something that's adequately pretty good. I don't know. That maybe feels too harsh. I really liked both of these episodes. Okay, let's say that. But I'm not going to throw around all-timer. I'm not going to throw around, top 10 ever. If you want the best episode ever, wait till next week. I'll tell you that for free. Stevie Moffat's coming back. We've spent the last few months going, oh, we're back, the show's back, Russell's back, we are so back. But next week, that'll feel like nothing. We will go, God, we thought we were back, but we weren't back. We're now more back than we've ever been before. So boom, next week. I'm so excited for that one. I can't wait to talk about that then. In the meantime, let me know how you feel about these two episodes. Did you love them both? Did you hate them both? Do you think I'm mad for preferring the first one? I don't know. I miss these conversations that we had in the comments section for the 60th and the 2023 specials. So I'd love to just let me know anything you think about this episode. I will be back to cover every episode of this coming season. I'm really excited to do so. Yeah, I think that's everything. Is there anything else I wanted to say about either of the episodes? No, I don't think so. All right. Yeah, I'll see you next week. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. Please give it a like. Share it with someone you think might enjoy it. I'm trying to, grow the channel and expand my audience a bit. Hopefully these videos will be seen by as many people as last time because those conversations were so wonderful. Subscribe. Have I said that? Yeah, subscribe for more like this. For the next few weeks, it'll be just Doctor Who, but then I'll be back to covering all kinds of different topics. All right, I'll see you soon. Love you lots.